everyone. I hope you had a lovely weekend. GORDYS GASBAGS back in action for another week simply because COVID refuses to go away. As soon as it does, I can give this up, which will be terrific. Not that I am not enjoying chatting to all of these terrific legends of our game, one of which, I tell you what, is one of the greatest legends of our game. Let's not forget before we go there, Corona is still sitting there. I haven't run out as yet, thanks to them. But what an absolute thrill and honour. Well, she's kind of like a colleague at the same time, but she's also one of the greatest names and faces and the only person in my lifetime that has made me go and put red lipstick on. For any reason at all. Any Sargeant.
I can't even concentrate. You look so glamorous. I'm so proud of you. Like, that hat is like me 20 years ago on a family holiday in New York. The lippy, I wore less because of you. I put gloss on just to stay true to character. I've gone the T-shirt, you've gone the hat. What is gone wrong? The world's upside down.
I know, the world is upside down. That's what happens in ISO, Annie. I got up to do this record today and I had this hat waiting for you. So this hat's been sitting waiting for this particular interview. And just compelled to find the red lipstick, which was right in the back of the cupboard, never used before.
Can I just say, you're not real good at colouring in between the lines, Gordy.
No.
You need an Annie masterclass. Needs a bit of work.
It's all over my cup and everything. It goes everywhere. I don't know how you do it.
The price you pay. The price you pay, kiddo.
Annie Sargeant, how are you going?
I'm good. Well, you know, I sort of fell down the stairs I've been in lockdown for 4 weeks ahead of everybody else. I don't know what you're all whinging about. You know that I couldn't get to the Bushfire fundraiser, having practiced my DJ skills and actually put up some goals for you. And then missed a stair coming down. Was quite spectacular. Scored about 8s and 9s by the family as they held up cards. So I've been in a boot for 4 weeks before this all hit. So I feel a bit cheated, but I'm good now. I'm good. I'm up and at 'em.
So you're out of the boot now?
Out of the boot. The other knee's a bit dodgy as a result, but yeah, out of the boot. I'm not dancing yet. That's yet to come. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, that's good. And COVID's treating you okay?
Look, we've got mixed. We're trying, well, you know, like you, all my work just went zip, 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 zip. That's okay. I had all these things planned and ready to go. They now have pending written all over them, but we'll get them back. We're trying really hard to keep, Warwick's a physio, as you probably know, to keep that practice vibrant and helpful to the community, mainly for our physios and our staff.
Yeah.
So that's something we're really focused on. It's really important. He's really respected in particular, you know, across the board, but with a lot of the older demographic in our community. And of course, they're a bit nervous going out, so we're trying to make sure that's all working. And we do have another one back in the house. No, not empty nesters anymore. Kendall. It's a sad story, a good story and a sad story. Got a new job days before Corona hit, days before. So we went from, oh my God, how did you jag that? You're just unreal, to couldn't get a consulate appointment with a visa, flights got stopped. So her partner, Ben, reluctantly had to put her on a flight rather than risk sort of a deportation scenario. So, you know, just another one of those COVID stories where you didn't realise how far it could unravel. So she's in with us and we've set up downstairs. We actually run on LA time in this house now.
Yeah, I was
LA,
going to say,
New York.
A lot of people,
this is the weekend. Monday's the weekend for us, hey?
There's a lot of people, and you wouldn't know, or some would, but some wouldn't, that your daughter is based over in LA.
Yeah, she's been in LA for about 6 years. PR role, big PR role with a big fashion place. And then just jagged a new company, 4 weeks ago, and over the moon and so excited and motivated and keen to go, and then bang, okay, got a problem here, Houston. So she has to get out of the country to renew specialist work visas. So it's a work in progress, but they've been brilliant. They're letting her work here as an overseas consultant. And she's just focused on that, hit the ground running. So we have really early starts in this house.
Yeah.
And the weekends get shifted and, you know, we tap dance around each other. I've just sent her out for a run, get out of my hair. But it's good. It's great to have her. Wish her partner Ben was with us as well. But, you know, hold hard to the long-term plan.
Yeah.
And
It's not forever, is it?
No, not forever. And you got to make good things out of the bad. and you've got to have a lot of faith in what you believe to be true in your relationships and your passions, and they're choices you have. Some things we don't have a choice about at the moment, but you do have other choices about how you operate and what you choose to believe in. So I think like you, we can look at that bottle a bit longer and maybe have a bit too much at the moment. That may not change, but we'll be back, maybe not amusing each other, but calling some Nettie sooner rather than later.
Let's hope so. Annie, let's talk about you as a young child growing up. Did you automatically play netball?
Only child, so pretty precious, as you would know. And my parents weren't the pushy parent category. They were we didn't have a lot of money, to be honest. It was about, what would you like to do? Let's see if we can do it. And they would run me around as much as it took to do it. So there was, tennis, physical culture. You probably know what that is.
I do.
Track and field. Oh, do you?
Yes, I know.
Champion girl. Yeah. Oh, the leg tan, the spray tan, the hair. Oh, my Lord. Hence the lipstick, I guess. And netball, of course. And from the very first, in the era of the grass court with your mum coaching the team and the box pleats, and I heard Mark Ango talking about the tassel. She calls it something else. For me, it was that white rope belt with the tassel. Oh, swinging that tassel was the greatest joy before the ball came back down the court. Just couldn't get enough of it. And, as a kid, I went early into reps, and Mum and Dad, it was the sort of family that we just packed any kids that couldn't get a lift in the car, drove the night before to wherever the carnival was, stayed in a cheap motel, bounced on beds, got room service breakfast, played all day, grazed your knee, drove us home in the dark, woke us up to get out of the car, and then reminded us school was on the next day. So I just couldn't get enough of it. And, I kind of know, Gordy, how blessed I am in the people I've met through netball, but just the journey. Like, I live in an area that's sport crazy, and, that's the luck of the draw. I've made teams that were just a glut of talent and enthusiasm and the right kind of people. So my district association, Mandaringa, is a very well-respected and successful one. New South Wales has rolled pretty well over the years, if you were lucky to get the Aussie Diamonds uniform. So I'm a pretty spoiled chicken, and I know it. And I'm appreciative for every segment of it.
And your parents, were they tall?
Dad was tall, yeah. Mum, they say Mum's tall. She isn't taller than me. She's about 5'7", and Dad was about 6 foot. His brother was probably 6'1". Yeah, more golfers and tennis players in their background. And, I love them. God love them. Mum was more of the critique. I called them fast forward and rewind. Mum was organised and on it. She's a brilliant manager, and, she'd hover around. And apparently I told her to nick off one day when I was captain coaching. She was sort of hovering over with essential information, and I was trying to get a message to the team. Apparently I said what I shouldn't have said to her, and the whole team went, oh, they called her Apple, actually. Apple Computer. I just remembered that. Because she was bang on the detail and so organised. And Dad was as relaxed and as casual, so I called him Rewind. And I could play a game as captain coach as an adult at state champs or something, and my mum would have been scoring probably with the other team's manager. And she would say, no, the other, and she would go, it was really great. And Dad would say, you missed one that might have been a good one to get.
Yeah.
So I just had this great mishmash of personalities. They were great. Really good parents to have.
Yeah. And I think the reason why I ask about the height, because I sort of go back to my early memories of you playing, and I guess you stood out because you were this tall goaler, which was kind of, I felt like in those days it was sort of an anomaly.
Yeah. I was lanky, leggy. I'm all leg, really. And so, I dream of being a Sherelle McMahon, Sherazzle Dazzle machine.
Yeah.
I love that athleticism. It's not me. So I'm was fast enough. And, but I was more that elegant moving player because of my build. But as opposed to the tall that stayed post, like Marg Molina was exiting the national team as I was coming through as a kid. And she was more a post up, be around the goalpost. She was economical in her moves, whereas I played the front position most of my life. And I love the running, I love the movement, and I love the prettiness of the game and the linking and the creativity with the other shooter and with your wing attack. And with Karen Smith, you would remember, who was one of the smallest, most athletic goal defenders, one of, the Kath Harvey-Williams mode, who would see it from the second their little toe touched that middle third, would see the post and the ball's off. So I love that kind of environment. So I probably wasn't the style of player that you attribute to height, but I guess, particularly in that front position, it was sort of funny seeing this Lopi lanky thing out front.
So here's an interesting question. You're a shooting superstar. You can coach any athlete to be a brilliant shooter. When you look back at your style and the way you shot, is that the technical style that you would now teach the modern day athlete?
Nah, I'm a bit like Kath Cox. I'm a bit prone forward on the shot. But I look, we've seen these beautifully balanced shooters. We go back to Sherelle, that style where it's just lined up and under the shot. And that's the way I coach, but I coach liberally, because if they can flick it off their ear and it goes in, I don't care. If they've got a way to do it, baby, I don't care. So you have to go with their natural body parts. So, I was looking at some stuff on Kath the other day, so prone at the front.
Yeah.
I was, on this point, as a kid years ago, before your time, a lot of it came from a basketball shot. So it rolled from here and flicked.
Yes.
So some of my heroes in New South Wales had this pretty thing, the skirt flick, of course. Bit of lip gloss, pretty ponytails and ribbons, but this rolling shot from there, okay? And all of a sudden, I had a coach at rep level that said, no, you've got to get the ball above your head. That's what Mark Haldo does. And, I spent a whole summer trying to transition this moving, rolling shot, a timing thing, to more the static, elevated shots. I got caught halfway between, but worked it out. And it was agony, and I would be at the post every day trying to satisfy this local rep coach. And, we can argue she did the right thing or not, I don't know. But it was all about, the Mark Caldo shot, and that was our model. So I got stuck halfway, and I would never changed a shot that was really natural and had rhythm and confidence and went through that ring.
Yeah.
Just because it wasn't a shot, not into it.
Well,
I would like them to shoot more from long, though, if that's okay.
Yeah. And I was just going to say that your shot sort of held you in good stead, because you, beyond being known for 1,000 different things, I think a lot of people recall that you shot 100% for 3 games or something in a row, wasn't it? At a bloody international, what was it? It was at the, no, it was 3
Yeah, I like them to. I like them to remember that too, Sue.
Yeah. Well,
look,
extraordinary.
Yeah, you know what? That was like Vicky Wilson, and they were buggers, Sue. We had the test match and then one either side, and we had the match and I'd shot 100%. I thought that's really cool. And then in the third of those matches, we're playing an international. Now, it wasn't New Zealand and it wasn't Trinidad. I concede all of that, but we're playing the match. It was indoors, had a bit of crowd, and every time we came off, they said, good shooting. By half time, it was like, oh, good shooting, girls. Annie, you haven't missed yet. Oh, cool. 3/4 time, it's now a real focus. Yeah. They're mentioning it. And I'm like, okay, enough with it. Okay, stop with it now. And by the 4th quarter, they thought it was hysterical. You've never seen people throw a ball around that many times to force me to shoot. I've got Wilson under the post. I'm like, I'll shoot long, but I'm trying to offload. She's trying it back to me. On and on it went, the buggers, I swear. Anyway, I survived their little game and got away with it. But I don't think I've ever been scared to shoot long when it counted. Like, that was nice. But I remember and it was up, you were calling the game. It was in Tassie. They put up old footage before the game, and they had the Launceston Velodrome. We were playing, I think it was Trinidad or Jamaica. We were losing the game, and the Rosie Jenke took a sensational rebound, and the ball came down, and it was like that, when you're watching a movie and there's seconds on the clock, like watching Friday Night Lights. Yeah. And I said, oh, well, they just chucked the ball, and I didn't know whether I was in or out, but I knew I held my heels up. It just went bang. And that one felt pretty sweet. So those heel flappers, I like them. I like it when you have a crack.
So, you know, I kind of look back, and it's been funny chatting with the different girls and, you know, people throwing different people under the bus. But I've got a sneaking suspicion. Were you a good girl?
Oh, kind of. It makes me boring though, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't.
I did laugh when you were chatting. Who were you chatting with? And maybe it was with Keels about who can sneak out of something the best in a Cav Cox. I might be a little bit like that. I like having my fun, and I like to play. I know when to kind of just like, yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty good. I'm not pure. I'm not pure at all.
Yeah.
But I'm. I don't mind being called a good girl most of the time.
Tell me,
I tell my husband I am. I've come back from every tour saying it, so I think we should hold the line. He's down in the kitchen cooking, so I think I was an angel on tour.
Yeah, I reckon I could dig a bit deeper here if I wanted to.
Now, keep your hat on.
Yeah.
Keep your hat on. Keep yourself nice.
And it's a nice one at that. Annie, okay. So for me, you kind of have led the way for all of us in commentary. But before I go down that path, you kind of led the way for a lot of people in just simply turning a love of playing the game into something more. Because really, when I look at what you've done, like I was sort of thinking about this last night, knowing we were going to have a chat, and I was thinking, like, you really have, you're the most holistic person I know in netball.
Whoa. That's a big call. I don't know how to answer that one. If I did anything to contribute, then I'd be like super happy. To answer you, what I do have a strong sense of is timing. So I probably had been in the Australian team for a few years and was in a senior position and captaincy at a really important time in the history of our game. I mean, it's all been important, but in a transitional time. Now, you talked about the 91 World Cup, how important that was. And I called that game with Steve Rabiel. I've still got bruises on my arm from him smashing me to say shut up, but wasn't going to happen. So, spectacular team, spectacular event run by Nolene Dex, full house, all of Sydney talking. So, yeah, the result and the athletes, spectacular. But if we go back from that, what I feel when I think about your comment is that I had an opportunity at a time to try and grab something by the throat, and I absolutely wanted to do it. So my playing period of captaincy was when the sport itself was starting to get serious about, let's try and get a piece of the pie. Let's grab a little bit of this sporting landscape and let them know we're here. Brilliant athletes, brilliant track record, brilliant history, brilliant people, but the world's best kept secret. So we were starting to put in EDs, we're putting in publicity people. We were trying to get that started. We had great leaders in Mark Putras, Nolene Dix. We started to tap on boardroom doors. So I was captain at a time when we were starting to chase up interviews, and I took them relentlessly and thought every chance I get is a chance to preach to the unconverted about these magnificent athletes. This game is just spectacular. It's the world's best kept secret. It's probably the most successful the country had. You just don't know about it. So, press and media, we did. Leading into 91, after the 87 World Cup in Glasgow, it was a deliberate effort to try and put the sport on TV in front of the Australian public to lead into 91. So Will Shakespeare, the Australian coach in 87, and myself as captain were taken into boardrooms. So we were part of the pitch, not solely responsible, to Johnson & Johnson to get 3 years of home international series up in Australia, to put the game in front of the public, to get it into, the Sunday morning sport shows, back page of the paper, any way we could. So it laid a platform. So we played those series all about getting towards 1991. And it was a smart idea and it worked brilliantly. And I think that's when we got the impetus. And then that team, that magnificent 1991 team, just icing on a cake. And as Keel said, you could not go out of your house for the next couple of months without the butcher, the newsagent, anybody wanting to stop you and talk about it again. Because I tell you, every club, every pub, every household watched that game because they'd been led to that game. And, it's a super important moment.
Yeah, and so therefore in telling that story, that's really lovely to hear, because I think, I've watched that, many a time, as many people that have been tuning into Gordy's Gasbags and writing to me and telling me about the games that they've watched. Beyond just the sheer passion and emotion in your voice as a commentator during that game about Australia winning, I'm now linking the fact that there was a hell of a lot of work done beyond that point. And maybe you were sharing in that moment just as much.
Yeah, I think there was a recognition in calling the game of, we've come of age. We've got our Prime Minister out of his seat.
Yeah.
We've got a crowd just in one voice yelling. I've called a few World Cups. The Christchurch one was spectacular, but this was we owned it. Australia owned it, and people knew about netball and how spectacular it is. And so I think it just counted for so much more. And, you got to love, if you've worn the green and gold or you aspire to, you've got to love watching the girls succeed. There is nothing better than that reaction when they know they've got it. And that's what drives the next one. They say when you earn the green and gold, I just always feel like you're stepping into a uniform that is so well worn. Not worn of age, just worn so brilliantly well in so many ways. So, it's kind of neat to be able to recognise those moments, and that, you could see the journey coming. And, we don't talk about our leaders enough. We don't talk about, and that's what I tried to do in those moments, in those years, talk about the current players, but talk about the stars that have gone before. Don't let them be lost to us. And I also was around brilliant leaders, Marg Putris, who would take the senior members of the team to events, and she would introduce us to Quentin Bryce. She would say, look at this magnificent woman. And we were like, oh my Lord, wow. And she said, this is a whatever-year-old woman. Look, she's achieved this. She's still contributing. Vibrant, spectacular women. So I think really lucky in my era to have that. I've been in teams. I was really lucky to make a team full stop, Gordy. Like, I'll talk about hiccups and not even getting into your state team. I tried and tried. I even got put out of a team. I got put out of a state team. My first team, I tried for a few years to get in, under 18s, I think it was then. Finally cracked it. Went to one training session and was actually taking a day off school with my mum. I could see the paving stones from the house to the car to go into the city to be measured for my first state blazer. Like, talk about thinking you'd died and gone to heaven. And on the way to the car, the phone rang inside the house, and my mum, being Apple computer, said, better go in and answer that. She got off the phone and said, oh, so what's wrong? She said, you've been put out of the team. I said, I haven't done anything wrong yet. And they had a ruling at the time, you had to have a current umpire's theory pass to play in the state side. And I was just in my local club. The local official had checked it. It was a 99% accurate pass. She said it was fine. Well, it wasn't. It was a month out of date. It probably would have been okay, but one of the senior players hadn't done hers for 5 years, and everybody said the rule is the rule is the rule. Turned out 2 years later, I had a practical C badge, would have overruled it, but we didn't know. So I got put out of the team, and then I couldn't get back in, for the next couple of years. When I finally made the state open team, I was absolutely like the benchy. And it was a Sydney championship, state national titles. And as that went on, I don't know, Mark Corbett just wasn't happy with the way things were, a bit clunky. Threw me on to try it, ended up staying in the line. I think we placed second behind Victoria. And in those days I had the state dinners, the national dinner at the end. So after 10 days of like slogging it out, no load management, you play the final, take your shoe off and half your sole comes off in the sock, that bloody mess, and you then put on shoes to go to the national dinner. You remember those days? Yeah, so I'm at the national dinner thinking I'd really like to take these shoes off, and they're announcing the national 10, the 10 best, then the reserves and the reserves, the reserves. And I'm saying to one of the old players, who is that and what is that? And she says to me, well, if she gets hit by a bus, she's probably going to go in and replace her. And if she got hit by a bus, you might be an outside chance, but probably not. I said, oh, okay, rightio. Didn't worry me. I got a phone call later, about a week later at home, Deirdre Highland, and I didn't know who Deirdre Highland was at the time, I'm sorry. God bless her soul. Picked up the phone and she said, "Hi, it's Deirdre Highland." I said, "Hi." She said, "Do you know who I am?" And I was honest and said, "No, sorry." She said, "I'm the national president and there's been a withdrawal from the national team and the coach would like to offer you the position." I was so excited. I dropped the phone and I rang into the rumpus room to my parents, who said, "Are you doing all right?" And they said, "How? Who told you that?" And I said, "Oh God, I left her dangling in the lounge room." And to this day, I owe it to Marg-Melina and her husband, their talents. She felt pregnant. She had to withdraw. Forever, I wouldn't be there. And then Wilma Shakespeare saw something in a lanky, long-legged, unconventional forward shooter that had a bit of height and shot a few goals. And most of the world didn't think I should be there, me included. So I kind of had to really brace myself to earn the place. But, you know, when you look at the timing of all of that and the people who've been around, hell, what a journey. How could you not love it?
Yeah, they say, you know, timing's an intriguing thing in life, isn't it? Just at the end of the day, when one door opens. And I also think, and it's a great story, and I think too, you know, like, no one gets to the top without a crap hurdle to overcome. And those hurdles, whether they're injuries or whether they're, you know, being dropped from a side or lack of opportunity or whatever it might be. It's fascinating just to see, because I can't recall one sports person I've ever spoken to that can't tell you about the heartache of their journey that, you know, catapulted them to success.
Yeah, I think usually it comes down to injuries and things like that are, you know, really big blocks and really take. For me, because people will look at mine and go, "Well, you played 11 consecutive years in green and gold. What an easy run. You made it, you played." Or you made the team when you probably shouldn't have made the team then. And all that. So I spent the first few years trying to prove that I deserved to be anywhere near around that team. So for me, the test was prior to that. And I remember clearly my mum saying, you know, I cried for days after I got put out of that underage state team. And I remember my parents saying, "Listen, stop it. If it's important, just get out of that stupid post in the backyard where the tree's overgrowing and you have to run and get the ball and bring it back to shoot again, and just start again and step up and let them see you again." Yeah, so mine was more an unseen thing. You know, 87 was a very hard world to recover from. We had so many injuries and so much disappointment. But your decisions then are, you don't want to finish on that.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to finish on that. I wanted to finish on a better note. You know, one of the most significant things I've kept in my life from netball is a Joyce Brown comment, of which there are many, but we trialled with the 83. Oh, my Lord. I can hear her now. She'll probably ring in a minute. She's like that. Just send me a poem or a little drawing. God love her. Just one of the world's greatest people and a real mentor to me. I think the world of her. But in 83, we trialled for the World Championships. And, you know, we will go, the team would ultimately defend Australia's world title. And we trialled in Melbourne, outdoors, so Royal Park, on the outdoor courts. Easter, heat wave, oh my gosh. You know, if we knew there was load management, we would have prayed for it. And of course, across 5 days, a slog, you know, the natural war of attrition, the ones that are not being looked at start to sit out more and the ones in contention are playing more. And Julie Franco and I stupidly, by about the 4th day, went over as relatively senior members and said, "Hey, JB, the girls are getting really," she said, "Well, this is for an Australian uniform, go back and tell them," which we did, you know, crawl the way back, kept going. Now that team was announced in I think tent's probably a glamorous term for what it was. They rigged something on the court. So inside the tent are the 20 squad members, maybe a couple of officials. Convener of selection would have been announcing it. Nobody goes to this, as you know. You're either looking at somebody that they're filling up your spot, or you're up there and you're looking back at somebody, a friend, probably a teammate that shattered. Horrible. Brutal. This was particularly brutal. Anyway, so we got through it, and there's 10 players selected from Australia. And they said, right, Joyce said, you can take 10 minutes to yourself, collect yourself, do what you need to do, go hug a teammate, console a teammate, do handstands, use the phone booth, ring home, whatever. See you around the back of the 10 that are selected. So we go around the back of the tent, and JB says to us, well, girls, congratulations. You will go to Singapore World Championship. Pretty special, defending Australia's title. You must feel like you've really hit the jackpot. Yeah. He said, yep. We're all pretty cocky. There's nobody around disappointed anymore. We're just within our own. She said, you must just feel like everything you've done so far has been for this point. Yeah, we're still going. Stupido, because the third time she comes out with, you must feel like this is the absolute ultimate. And we're idiots because now we're still on a high and nodding, and then we see that little thing flash across her eyes. And I think, no. So she launches with, if that's the case, get back in there, get one of the girls that missed out, send them in. There's no way I'm taking a player that thinks they've got it, they've done it, they've reached it. It's all ahead of you now. There is no end point to success. Being her point. So, just use it as you want. But God, every time I remember that, it tightens up inside and I think, okay, what else can I do? What can I do?
Joyce Brown, I tell you, she's well, there was Mark Angove said the other day, there was just such a beautiful group of coaches, wasn't it, that era, with her and even Pam Barham, and I mean, it was an extraordinary time for coaches. Joyce Brown, Gay Teed, the list goes on. Jill Mack. I mean, what an extraordinary legacy they've left.
Yeah, amazing, and all quite different. So I played 11 years, for New South Wales Open. So that was Angove, Mark Corbett, different again, right out of the box, super creative. She'd sort of amble along and be quite deceptive in how passionate she was. But when the crunch was on, she was on. But as Angove was very much the defensive coach, Corbett was how creative, how quirky can we be, how can we do it differently, bring in the Zumba dancers, bring in this, the things we did, but a deceptively casual manner when there was so much more and just very, very innovative. And Pam Barham, we had for 1 year as an Australian coach, only Kiwi to manage that. And she was different again. She, of course, transitioned the defensive tactics a little, but she had different things she had us doing. We had Will Shakespeare. We're just amazing people. And they've all had their impact on coaches down the line. You take the bits that you can work with to suit what sits right with you. And I know, we're just blessed.
It was a great era, wasn't it? And hopefully our era's still there. And, of course, Annie, as you well know, Lisa now moved on and a new Aussie coach coming through. I dare not ask you who you think. I don't want to throw you in that predicament, or can I?
Well, you can. Yeah, you can. I know nothing.
Thoughts?
Yeah, well, I feel there's a general consensus that Simone McInnes is a front runner. I love how cagey she's been. I think a lot of us assumed, some assumed she'd never coached in the first place. I listened to Keels about that, and that was a big shock. And I reckon 2 years ago, if you'd asked her about the national job, you probably would have got a flat no. I feel like she's more open to considering it. People have to remember the national coach doesn't just coach the Australian team, the Diamonds, on a few events. There's a lot more going on. It's coach education. It's a whole lot of other things. It's relentless, the job. So it's not just about loving your coaching. It's about embracing the rest of it. I think Julie Fitz would kill to get the job. She has a passion in her, I can see, and a real love for that position. As far as I know, they're throwing a wide net as well. I think they'd be open to people that have not been on the scene but have been out exploring opportunity. We've got to be able to absorb that now. It's a global game. We must not close our borders. We mustn't get caught up with Corona. We've got to let people now explore global opportunities. Watch them develop it.
So who else are you thinking when we talk about spreading that net? Maybe someone that we're not seeing at the forefront of our screens at the moment. I assume you're saying someone like Vicky Wilson?
Well, those people have a wealth of knowledge. They've been exposed, You got me?
Yeah, go for it. Go again.
Somebody mentioned to me the other day, Julie Hornweg, people that just because they're not in our face all the time doesn't mean they haven't got things to contribute. My personal opinion I don't even know who the decision makers are, to be honest. My opinion would be that it may well go to somebody that has a playing background. I feel like there's a consensus out there, a swell that is almost asking for it. So whether that is reached to the decision makers, I don't know. but that has been historically the way we've gone. And that's got nothing to do with Lisa. She couldn't have been more passionate or dedicated more time to the role she did, long serving. It's nothing about that. And she might even say the same thing. But I just find it's an amazing time when we're looking at, I mean, I know people have talked about Bryony too. I feel like with Bryony, she's starting her journey, and she's exciting. But I think she'd probably agree that she has a lot she still wants to do before taking on something like that. So it's going to be interesting. And I think it's fascinating that at a time we've thrown out nominations, and I guess from the time we threw them out, we're on lockdown. I feel like it's got to be a face-to-face discussion. I don't think it should be a Zoom meeting. So I feel like we've got to wait till we get through this. And, you know, it's a little bit like asking somebody to nominate and discuss their plans for something when you don't know what is in place. How long's a piece of string? What's happening? Will it happen? You know, there are some big decisions to be made by our sport, and they'll be tough ones for Marnie. And I think, you know, they're handling it brilliantly and the best they can. But, you know, there will have to be some trade-offs until we can get back into normality, whatever that ends up being.
Yeah. Annie, let me ask you, I want to know, obviously, you know, you commentate with the Suncorp Super Netball, you're up there. How does netball, or do you think netball survives this coronavirus moment? Are we going to be okay?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely do. I absolutely do. I think it's paramount for the sport that Super Netball is back on screens, back on 9. That's very important because it's reached a point where it's really got some momentum. It's really got some grunt. And I know all of us involved just want to see it go the next step. And I think we're right in a position to do that. And I think Netball Australia will take that same position. What happens with the diamonds, I think, might have to be massaged in terms of, you know, there are decisions. There is that commercial Super Netball decision, and there is how do you keep that brilliant national team at the forefront, better than one goal down. You know, they're right around it. We've got to look after this group. They're precious, and they're just starting to come through now with what could be just a monster lineup. I think at a local level, there's so much passion about getting out there and playing. It may not be in the version we know it immediately, but I think, you know, our sport's built off the back of volunteers. You know the days, Sue. Probably your mum and probably your gorgeous dad up to here with chocolate and coconut making lamingtons at a lamington drive to do whatever it takes to get kids on courts and playing. So I have an absolute belief it'll happen. We may just see creative versions for a while, but I just reckon there's such a ground army behind this sport. They will find a way, one foot after the other, to get there. But I think Super Netball back on screens in a safe and manageable fashion is absolutely paramount.
Yeah, it's nice to hear you say that, Annie. I feel very... I align with your thinking in that. I think our sport is so strong, and as you say, it's the backbone of it is its volunteers. So from a community level, I'm sure that it will be back out there in one way, shape, or form, and desperately hoping that SSN gets back because, as you say, we're on this journey at the moment, and you just don't want it to stop. Annie, I could talk all day. What I do want to say, because
I don't make you laugh, Gordy, do I?
Well, I've actually found this to be a little bit more serious, but it's been, no. Not everything has to be about humour. Sometimes there's just some beautiful stories to be told, and you always tell a story so lovely. Your voice is just so beautiful to listen to. I know that you and I are polar opposites when it comes to poetry, which is what makes, I think, it lovely, because we can't listen to one or the other all day, every day. So I love working alongside you. I think it's great, but I can't let you go. Without the back end of Gordy's Gasbags. It's simply impossible. I've never heard you sing or do anything like this, Annie. So I'm actually really intrigued with what you're going to do.
I haven't slept all through the night for this. You know, who did you say set the low benchmark? Natty von Berto?
Poor Nat von Berto. Sorry, Nat.
Oh,
it was Nat von Berto.
Well, Nat may be feeling good. You know, historically in netball, it used to be that you had to perform at a world champs at a night. Every team performed a number. Yes. Do you know how bad we were?
Yes, I do. And
in
just
79,
I'll give you an example of how bad I know Australia were, because in the year that I coached Singapore at the, I don't know, what was it, 99 World Champs, and we were doing this and all the countries were getting up. And so I'm in the Singapore outfit, but I couldn't have been happier when I saw Australia get up on the stage and do something. And I just sat down.
Yeah, there's no hat. There's no hat big enough. No hat big enough. You know what? On that note, in 79, you probably know the lady, and she may not still be alive. And an older lady, it seemed to me at the time, however young I was brought in to coach us how to walk and dance.
Oh,
Judy,
no.
Judy, or a bright red hair. So she had us in like pairs. We were doing these box step formations with brown slouch hats on our side, and I'm here going, it's a brown slouch hat with the side turned up, and it means the world to me. We did this as well as our on-court trainings. I'm like, oh my God. And then I can't think what we did in 83. In 87, we mimed because we didn't want to sing.
Oh, no.
Marcia Duncan told the story of Dreamtime or Uluru, and we jumped around like, honestly, it was so embarrassing. We didn't do Australia any service at all. So you can understand my reticence to do anything.
What are you
going to cheat? Well, you said I'm a good girl, so I'm going to cheat for you today. So there's a backstory to it. Like, I know you know your music, so you'll know Billy Joel.
Yes.
And you know he's got a song called Matter of Trust. It's actually a good YouTube clip if you find it. It's got Christy Brinkley in the background. She's a pretty good sort. Anyway, Darwin Nationals. Deborah and I were roommates. And, you know, Darwin, pretty hot. We're supposed to have rest time, lie in your beds, float, relax. We were kind of cabin fever, gone a bit silly, may have gone a bit crazy. And, you know, we would laugh till we just couldn't stop. But on came this song, Matter of Trust. So as you probably know, it's got an intro of counting. So I'm not going to sing the song. I'm going to sing for you the intro. So it goes like this. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the song starts. Now I need your help now, because Deborah and I went a 4, a 5, a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, a 12, 13, 14, 15. We went, I'm telling you, like 200 and I don't know. You could not have peeled us off our respective beds because we laughed so much. We were like rags. You could have rung us out. On and on. We never got to the song. The song had stopped. The next one we were still doing the intro. I don't know how far. Well, I'm going to leave you with the intro, and I'm going to let you knock out the song another time.
Annie, but you've got a good voice.
The things you don't know.
Annie, sing. Come on, sing. I never knew this. You can sing.
Only when I try.
Try now.
I really want to sing Love Shack. There's a little old place where we can get together. Love Shack. Yeah. But my husband said best you don't.
Yeah, we eventually got there. Annie Sargeant, so nice to have a chat with you. It's a shame we're not on the court together calling a game or doing something like that, but I'm sure we'll be there in the not too distant future. Look after you, your family. Lovely to have Kendall, your daughter, home. And thank you once again for joining GORDY's Gasbags.
So much fun. And your lippy looks great. Can you save the hat for me?
Yeah, and I was just trying to see if my teeth had got any red on it. Halfway through, I was going like this.
Work in progress.
I can't wait to get
in progress.
Annie, take care. We'll speak to you.
See you, bye.